Patriots fans the second that final whistle hit. It felt like everyone who follows this team let out the exact same breath. This group just keeps dragging out wins, even when the night turns weird, sloppy, unpredictable, you name it. You look up at a record sitting at 10 victories and 2 losses, and then you notice that every single trip away from home has ended with players jogging off the field smiling. And you realize something is happening behind those closed locker room doors. This was hardly a clean performance. The tempo was all over the place, and there were moments where couches across the country probably tilted forward at the exact same time. Winning away from home in this league is never simple, and doing it 6 straight times tells you everything you need to know about the mindset of this team. What really shook the night, though, were those moments where bodies hit the ground and the stadium went silent. When Will Campbell stayed down, and then Jared Wilson collapsed just moments later, it was like the mood of every fan watching shifted instantly. You could almost feel the worry spreading through living rooms and watch parties, because losing 2 major pieces at the same position is exactly the type of twist that can alter an entire season. Then the early tests started coming back, and suddenly the gloom lifted just a bit. Hearing that both guys were dealing with sprains instead of something far more devastating completely changed the tone of everything. It is still waiting on full confirmation, but even slight optimism felt like a blessing considering how quickly things looked like they could fall apart. With a matchup against the Giants right around the corner and the long-awaited bye week just after, there's a real chance the team escapes this stretch without losing anyone long-term, which honestly feels like winning inside the win. And honestly, this week was the definition of a gut punch for the offensive line. This team has been healthier than a lot of squads around the league, but suddenly it felt like every bump and bruise showed up on the exact same night. Campbell, Wilson, Sheeler, Tonga, it all landed at once. But the moment Ben Brown jogged onto the field, you could feel a little steadiness return. He played with the kind of control that usually comes from someone who has been in that role for far longer, and with Verdarian Lowe adding depth from the sideline, the group managed to right the ship instead of letting things spiral. The chaos of losing 2 starters could have led to a disaster, yet they held the opponent to just 1 sack all night. Nobody is pretending this is ideal, and nobody is happy that 2 starters are limping into the week, but considering how messy this could have been, the line deserves credit for digging in and refusing to fold. That kind of resilience is what separates teams that fade in December from teams that push toward the postseason with confidence. Even behind the scenes, that message about relying on everyone in the building seemed to stick. This league is a grind, bodies were down, and every week brings new problems. Style points mean nothing once the ball is snapped. This matchup was supposed to be simple on paper, one of those comfortable checks on the schedule, but that is never how things work here. There is nothing fancy about a road win where the score looks closer than it probably felt at times. But stacking a 6 straightaway victory says more about toughness than any highlight reel throw ever could. But speaking of highlights, this game had moments that absolutely shifted the energy. Marcus Jones reading that route and jumping it for the pick 6 was the spark the team needed. Joe Flacco held onto the ball too long, locked his eyes in the flat, and Jones reacted like he already knew the play before it happened. The second the ball was out of Flacco's hand, Jones was breaking forward, and you could almost sense that the quarterback regretted the decision before the ball traveled half its distance. That play came at the perfect moment, too, because Drake may have thrown an interception earlier that he clearly wished he could take back. The rookie has been sharp for most of the season, but that one ball just got away from him. Still, he rebounded, and the defense made sure momentum swung right back into their hands. And then there was Andy Borgelis, who walked onto that field like a player determined to erase every doubt that ever floated around his name. For field goals, one of them drilled from 52 yards away, is the kind of performance specialists dream of. Not long ago, people were questioning whether he was truly the answer, wondering if the team needed someone more reliable. Nights like this silence those conversations. When your kicker becomes so dependable that fans barely tense up when he lines up, that is when you know the position is in good hands. The offense also sprinkled in some flashes, even during stretches where the rhythm felt clunky. Kyle Williams had only 1 catch, but the route he ran was clean, sharp, explosive. The The type of play that reminds you why the coaching staff keeps giving him opportunities. That 10-yard dagger route was timed perfectly, and you can tell that every time he touches the ball, he brings a level of athleticism that hints at a bigger role down the road. Hunter Henry came through as well, becoming the go-to guy with 10 targets and over 100 receiving yards, plus the score that kept the offense moving. Even Kayshon Boutte, who did not pull in the touchdown he wanted, drew a critical pass interference that kept a drive alive when the offense desperately needed it. What really defined the night, though, was the defense. Holding the opponent to 13 points in real defensive time is the kind of showing that settles everything else. It allowed the offense to work through their issues without falling behind, and it kept the opposing quarterback off balance from the opening drive to the final snap. Carlton Davis knocked away key throws. Marcus Jones showed the instincts that make him so dangerous, and the overall effort left no doubt about who controls the identity of this team. The final score does not tell the full story. The defense allowed just one true touchdown and forced mistakes that completely shifted the flow of the game. When this defense plays like that, and the offense eventually finds its footing, this team becomes the kind of problem nobody wants to deal with in the closing stretch of the season. But let's be honest here, the night was not all celebrations. There were plenty of sequences that left fans groaning because the red zone issues were impossible to ignore. Drake may had stretches where his rhythm dipped, missing throws he usually drops in stride. The run game hit walls over and over, trying to find lanes that never fully opened. And the 0-for-2 mark inside the 10-yard line was the type of thing that sticks with you long after the game ends. It was not about bad play designs. It was about execution crumbling at the worst possible moments. Whether it was a missed block, a split-second hesitation, or a run that needed more force behind it, every tiny mistake added up, turning promising drives into nothing more than short field goals. This team cannot keep leaving points on the board when the path to the end zone is that close. Still, even in the rough patches, there was something telling about the way the young quarterback handled it. Drake may never shied away from the mistakes. He kept throwing, kept adjusting, kept battling through moments where everything felt slightly off. There was that 12-yard scramble where he ducked pressure, turned upfield, and fought for extra yards like he refused to let the drive fizzle. It was not glamorous, but it said everything about his competitiveness. Growth is rarely smooth. It comes in tough nights, in awkward reads, in plays where you learn more from the struggle than from the perfect throw. Watching him stay locked and despite the misfires showed a lot about who he is becoming. And the running backs had their own roller coaster. Ramondre Stevenson never got the volume many expected, and the ground game kept waiting for a burst that refused to show up. There was a goal line moment where it felt like the lane had opened beautifully, only for the defense to crash down instantly, leaving fans wondering what adjustment could have changed the outcome. Football really is a game of inches, especially when you're looking at the goal line and still cannot push through. On the defensive front, the team played with fire even without Milton Williams, whose presence always brings extra disruption inside. The pass rush stayed aggressive, the linebackers stayed disciplined, and the secondary kept squeezing throwing windows until the opposing quarterback was forced into checkdowns and hesitations. Carlton Davis read routes all night. Marcus Jones tightened every lane on his side of the field, and the coverage unit made every deep attempt feel risky. When a defense makes a veteran quarterback uncomfortable snap after snap, that tells you just how locked in they are. As the night carried on, the game settled into one of those strange rhythms where every possession felt heavier than it should have, like both teams were trying to wade through invisible mud. The Patriots kept moving the ball, stacking first downs, stretching the field just enough to create pressure. Yet every time they crossed a certain point, it was as if an invisible wall appeared. You could feel the frustration building, especially when the offense marched deep into enemy territory only to stumble on the tiny details that separate touchdowns from field goals. Fans watching from home could practically sense the impatience spreading on the sideline. You could see players shaking their heads, coaches pacing with their arms folded, all fully aware that they were inches away from blowing the game open. It was not a matter of being outmatched. It was simply a lack of crisp execution in the most unforgiving part of the field. And the thing about those moments is that they stick with you, because everyone knows those missed chances can become the storyline if the game ever tilts the wrong way. Still, every time the offense sputtered, the defense refused to let momentum slip. There were stretches where the Patriots' defensive front completely dictated the tempo, collapsing pockets with relentless pressure and forcing the opposing quarterback into decisions he clearly did not want to make. You could see the discomfort every time he tried to look past his first read, only to find a defender cutting off the lane or closing the space before the throw could even develop. The linebacker group played with the kind of synchronized discipline that coaches dream about, filling gaps, sniffing out screens, and shutting down misdirection plays before they could unfold. And the secondary played with swagger, breaking on routes with confidence, baiting throws, and forcing tight window attempts that never truly had a chance to land. In a league where offenses are built to score in bunches, holding a team to one legitimate touchdown is the type of statement that echoes beyond a single night. What really stood out, though, was how the Patriots adjusted on the fly. You could see the communication increasing after every drive, with players huddling up, pointing out tendencies, and making subtle changes in alignment or technique that gradually squeeze the life out of the opponent's rhythm. That kind of adaptability is something only well-prepared teams display, and it became more obvious with each snap. The defensive line started shifting its fronts to confuse blocking assignments. The linebackers began disguising pressure packages, and the corners tightened their leverage to take away the quick throws that the opponent desperately wanted to lean on. By the fourth quarter, the opponent's offense looked drained, mentally and physically, because every option they tried led to a wall of navy jerseys closing in. But the offense still needed to carry its weight, and eventually it began finding sparks again. Drake May started to settle down after the rocky moments, reading the field with more patience and trusting the routes to develop instead of trying to force quick completions. His timing returned, his pocket movement smoothed out, and you could see flashes of that natural rhythm he has shown throughout the season. There was a deep comeback route he threw late in the game that felt like the perfect example of his progress. He stepped up, kept his eyes downfield while pressure came off the edge, and delivered the ball with timing so precise that it looked like the receiver and quarterback were connected by a wire. Small moments like that do not always make highlight reels, but they're the markers of a young passer turning into a real leader. The running game also began showing signs of life, even if the numbers were not explosive. Ramondre Stevenson churned through contact on several key snaps, grinding out tough yards that kept the chains moving when the team desperately needed some stability. The rotation behind him found short bursts of energy too, with backs hitting the line with more decisiveness, lowering their shoulders, and squeezing every inch out of lanes that were barely there. It was not glamorous football, but sometimes the gritty runs mean more than a breakaway dash, especially when they come at moments where survival matters more than style. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to Patriots Hub and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our New England Patriots. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling and the NFL world is buzzing after an explosive statement from Mike VRABEL that has left Patriots fans reeling. Sources close to the head coach claim that VRABEL, known for his fiery demeanor and no-nonsense leadership style, dropped a bombshell. He's out of the Patriots. While official channels have remained tight-lipped, insiders say the comments were not made in jest and hint at a brewing storm behind the scenes. The league is no stranger to dramatic exits, but VRABEL's potential departure feels different, carrying the weight of a coach who has been a cornerstone of the franchise's identity. Speculation is already running rampant. Could disagreements with the front office be at the heart of this? Or perhaps frustrations over roster decisions and team direction? Some analysts suggest this may be a power struggle coming to a head, with VRABEL taking a bold stance that could redefine the Patriots' future. Others whisper that he's eyeing a fresh challenge elsewhere, a move that could send shockwaves through the division. Veteran players reportedly appear divided, some reportedly backing the coach, others quietly preparing for a possible transition. Social media has erupted, with fans sharing their theories and memes, fueling a frenzy that shows no signs of cooling. The implications are massive. If VRABEL truly walks away, the Patriots would face a monumental task in finding a replacement who can command the locker room and deliver under pressure. Rumors of potential successors are already circulating, but few could match VRABEL's blend of toughness, strategy, and charisma. Meanwhile, league insiders caution against jumping to conclusions, noting that statements like this sometimes serve as negotiation tactics or calls for organizational change. Still, the buzz is undeniable, and every play, every press conference, now carries a new layer of intrigue. One thing is clear: the Patriots' offseason, or perhaps the league itself, might never be the same. Fans, pundits, and rival teams alike are holding their breath, watching for the next move in a drama that has ignited more conversation than any preseason game could. Mike Vrabel's words were blunt, but their ripple effect may be the story of a year. Patriots Nation is abuzz, waiting, speculating, and wondering just how deep does this rabbit hole go. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our New England Patriots, be sure to subscribe to Patriots Hub and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.